Hello everyone, Miss Adriana back again with another gameplay review video. And today I was supposed to talk about a very different video game, which was Vampire Masquerade Swan Song. Unfortunately, that video game has been delayed in shipment to the library, so I won't be able to talk about that one today. Instead, I chose a game that I did already do a full playthrough with, and I actually did quite enjoy. Came out recently, well, a couple months ago, which is Ghostwire Tokyo. So this comes from us from publisher Bethesda, developer Tango Gameworks, who also developed the Evil Within series. It was released earlier this year on March 25th and is available for PC and PS5. You can find that PS5 version available here at the library. You can definitely put it on hold and pick it up anytime you are ready to play this game. So let's get down to it. Let's talk a little bit about what I thought was really great about this game. Number one, the graphics. They are spectacular. I love how this game looks. The lighting dynamics in this are wonderful. I just love the way that like the street will be wet and you get all those reflections and it's just perfect. I love the way this game looks. The lighting cues are really great. So, like, if you're in a, usually you have like the music cues or the sound cues that tell you you're in danger. This also follows it up with some lighting cues. So, the lighting situations will change as you get into danger zones. And then also you have the atmospherics, which are spectacular. I really love how they did the atmospherics in this game. The sound design is also really great. So this comes from us from composer Masatoshi Yanagi. Really great sound design. I really loved some of the edits that were done in here, especially when Akito gets a little agitated. There's a couple little sound cues that I really like. So, about the game, let's summarize a little bit about the plot. I am not going to give away any spoilers. I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about what the story is kind of about. So, this is an action adventure RPG kind of set in first person mode. Um, and it has like three main characters. Well, it has like four main characters. So, you have Akito, KK, and Mari. And then you have the villain. There's obviously a host of enemies and other bosses and things like that, little mini bosses. But basically, Tokyo, all the population of Tokyo has disappeared. And Akito is the only one that has survived this disappearance of people. And that is in part due to KK, who is the soul of someone who recently passed. And so Akito and KK set off to kind of find Mari because Akito is looking for her since that's his little sister. So that's as much as I'm going to kind of comfortably give you about the story. I really don't want to give you any spoilers. All I am going to say is that there's a lot of good development in terms of the characters and how they interact with each other, especially between Akito and KK because they are really the main part of this game. And so Akito has to kind of progress through the game and kind of face himself, and it's really awesome. Um, Gameplay wise, so there's some great things about this game, and there's some things that I was just like, they were a little annoying. So to start off with, this is kind of, it's like in a first person shooter mode, but you don't actually have any weapons other than a bow and arrow. But you do have elemental charges that come out of your hands. And those charges are like wind, water, fire, and they're awesome and you can use them in various different combinations, and you do kind of progress those. So you do have like a skill tree that you start to open up and build out your character, which I really enjoyed building out my character with the skill tree, and a lot of the little intricacies in that skill tree were really fun to change and to kind of develop. So that is something I really enjoyed. The archery part of the game I only did the archery when I absolutely had to. It is a little slow for the type of fighting that you're doing in this game, so I was just like, "Ooh, this is." It has a time and place, and you'll see that if you do play this game, but it is a little bit slow for me for the encounters and the fact that you don't have the ability to do like rapid fire really kind of threw it off. Like it was really weak if you didn't charge it up, so useless if you don't charge it. The fighting mechanics are a little slow sometimes and inaccurate especially when the enemies are coming at you really fast or in groups. Sometimes the one thing that I felt that kind of stagnated that fight was it almost felt like my character locked on to a specific enemy and then it would slow his movement down. And I found that really hard to get away from. So, I was doing like longer range attacks at times because I felt like my character had more ability to move, like his stamina was better if I was a little bit further away. So getting up close and personal was really not helpful at all. There is no melee really. I mean, you could say that the ability or your elemental charges can be used kind of as a melee, but there is no true melee. The one thing that I feel that this game definitely needed, although it has a block and the block is fairly good, I'm generally not the type of player that likes to block. I usually tend to evade just because it keeps my momentum going. I really hate dodges and block. I mean, I really hate blocks in a lot of games other than like, Mortal Kombat or something like that. But this game definitely needs a dodge. I was praying and hoping for a dodge mechanic, but it wasn't there. And that's something that I feel that would have changed the way that you approach the fighting mechanics. And it probably would have made it a little bit more fun and engaging to have a little bit of a dodge instead of having to block, because a lot of times you're charging up those elemental charges. You do have rapid fire with them, but they're stronger when they're charged. So if you could dodge and charge at the same time, oh, that would have been amazing. The character designs are so good. Oh my god. I absolutely love the style of each of the characters, even down to the smallest enemy. They are so well done. They are so well put together. You find them kind of creepy and they're not like over the top horror like some Japanese games can be. And I think that's more to do with the fact that this is again an open world, so you're on the streets, you're running around, so you're not in these tight, dark corners. So if you were, these characters would be way creepier, being up close and personal with them. As far as missions goes, so as I just said, this is an open world concept, but it's a little bit reimagined. So I will talk about that in a minute. First, I'll talk about like the missions themselves. So they're both varied in difficulty and length. So you will have some missions that are shorter but very difficult, and you have some missions that are longer but not as difficult, and vice versa. So they mix it up pretty well. The main missions and side missions were really varied enough to keep me interested in the storyline, and I never felt like I got lost in the process of the open world. And it felt very organic to just proceed through the missions, side missions, and storyline. So here's where I feel like they did very well with this open world. So I've played Fallout a few times. And one of the biggest problems I have with open world concepts is that you lose sight of the linear story. I really like the stories behind video games, and so when you throw 15 side missions at me right as I get the first mission, I'm like, okay, so I gotta go do this, I gotta go do that, and then 4 hours pass by, and I'm like, wait a minute, where am I? What am I doing? And how did I get here? Because all of a sudden I've got more errands, more side missions. And before I know it, there's like 30, 35 objectives on my list. And the mission that I was supposed to complete, I forgot which one it was. Granted, yes, you can keep track and whatnot, but that's something that always kind of made me not enjoy a game as much because I always like diving into the story. This game, although it has an open world concept, it's an open world that gets revealed to you little by little. So you have an area where you start like a series of main missions, or you have a main mission, and then you have a bunch of side missions within that space of the map. And as you progress by clearing these Torii gates, you start to open up more of the map. So it felt more organic, it felt more linear, it felt like I was progressing with the game. Whereas sometimes I've tried to skip side missions in other games like Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one especially. Like I said, since I don't really enjoy open worlds, I usually try to just charge through the main missions because I want to see the story. And one of the things I quickly realized with Horizon Zero Dawn is that I hit a point where I couldn't progress unless I went and did all the side missions because I was going into an area of the map where the enemies were just way too much for me to handle because all those side missions were where I needed points to open up my skill tree. This didn't feel that way. I felt like I was playing the main missions along with the side missions at the same time. I didn't feel like I had to cross all the way, even though there's fast travel in this. Generally, I didn't have to cross an ocean or all the way across the whole entirety of the map to get a side mission done. So that I felt was really, really well done, especially considering from where this company came from, which is the Evil Within series. And the first game was very linear, and then the second game was more open world concept, which I was not happy with because I felt like, and I still feel that way, that it deteriorates the storyline, especially in a horror survival game where you want things to be creepy. I'm not as creeped out by running around and finding a bunch of zombies as I am by encountering them in a very small hallway. So, yeah, that kind of thing. I felt like this game hit a good balance. Playability. So, while there is a lot of repetition in this game in terms of the things that you are doing and the types of fights you're engaging, I didn't feel like I was bored. I was still engaged and immersed in the story and the world that Tango Gameworks put together for this game. So I was really happy with that. The only thing I would say is that I felt was maybe a little bit rushed, or maybe the concept behind it was not as well fleshed out or put together, was the ending. While the ending itself was good, and I'm not gonna say anything but just put the Kleenex aside. Put the Kleenex next to you just in case. But anyway, one of the things that I felt was like the ending came up right in front of you. Like you were exploring this whole map and you're opening this whole map and you're discovering this world, and then all of a sudden you're going to charge into a new area. So I thought, oh my god, really cool, this is awesome, we get to explore a whole new map. And no, it was just the end mission. So I felt like maybe that needed a little bit more smoothing because it just felt really abrupt. Like I was in the middle of all these like missions and I was like just getting side missions complete, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're gonna charge into this area, and then we're basically in the last mission. And that does have to do a little bit with open world concepts. You do lose a little bit of the thread of the storyline because you have main missions, but you have all these side missions to complete as well. So sometimes before you know it, you're right at the end. All in all, I would say this is a fantastic game, honestly. And it's rated very highly. I mean, if you look at all the scores across the board through IGN and all the other platforms, it's rated between like a 7 and a 9. So you average it out to like about an 8. That's a really good game in terms of what you want to get out of a game. And I think it's a game that you would really enjoy. I absolutely liked playing this. Even if I took maybe a day break in between a few places, but it was still fantastic, and it's the graphics are so beautiful. So definitely give this game a try if you like first person RPG adventure games with an open world concept that have amazing graphics and sound design. This is definitely going to be a game for you. So, again, this game is available for checkout here at the library. I always recommend putting it on hold because then all you have to do is come pick it up when it's ready. I will see you next time with another gameplay review video. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing for the next one just because, game releases have been so unsteady, but I'm sure I will choose something fun for you guys. So I will see you next time.